Hey, customers, welcome back to the cinema store for this week's special screening of Wonder Woman 1984. But before we get into that, with us today is actress, photographer, and a good friend of mine, Amelia Gotham. How you doing, Amelia?
Hey, Frankie, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Another great day up here in the snow. Um, so I know you had a little bit of a hard time picking the movie for the week. It can be kind of
Yes, I did.
asking what your favorite movie is. That's why I kind of gave you the hey, try something you'll throw on all the time, and you gave me Wonder Woman 1984, which
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious what pulls you into this movie so much. Like, why is this your like, even if it's just your background?
Okay, so it's not even the whole movie. It's really
Hmm.
the opening scene of the
Okay.
movie, uh, where it's a flashback to when she was a kid and she's running the gauntlet.
Hmm. Okay.
That whole opening to me, like, is just amazing. I had nothing like that as a little girl.
Hmm.
It's so inspirational and beautifully shot. And I don't know, it's like something that really like is inspiring and like pumps you up and gives you motivation.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it is a
as
pretty
a
cool
woman, as
opening.
a female. So
Yeah, it is a pretty awesome opening, especially with her being a little kid competing against all those grown women. And it does start the lesson of the movie as well with her getting called out for cheating,
yeah.
which is essentially what Pedro Pascal does the whole movie is just cheating with his wishing stone. Um, I will tell you my little background with this movie is I believe this came out in 2020. So COVID was still happening, and it came out the same day as Soul. I don't know if you're familiar with that Disney movie. Um,
Yeah, yes.
but Jessica and I did like a double feature, watched Soul and then we watched this, and it was hard to get through this after watching how beautiful Soul is. But
Yeah.
I'm really glad you picked this movie because watching it a second time I was like, this is a lot better than I remember it to be. And like you said, that opening is great. So
I just, it's just so hard to pick the movie, your favorite movie. You could
mhm,
pick so many that are inspire you or for whatever reason, like, are have a lesson in them, and
mhm,
Wonder Woman 1984 to me is just fun, and sometimes, especially during COVID, it's great to have those movies that really don't have much of a or to me, it didn't have
yeah,
any, like, life-changing, effect on me,
mhm,
but it was just really fun and lighthearted, and, I think at that time we really needed movies like that,
mhm.
so,
No, I
yeah.
totally understand. Yeah, it's I can see it as a great background movie too. Like if you're just hanging out at home and like, just gonna chill on the couch, throw that on a little bit and then, just have it
Yeah.
go. um, so I mean, and also a great movie to pick right now with Pedro Pascal being the main villain in this. He's gonna kind of be the main guy for these 6 months, I think, of the beginning of 2023. I don't know if you're familiar with The Last of Us at all, because he's
I
the
haven't watched it yet, but, I want
oh,
to, it looks really good.
oh yeah, it's great. And then he's gonna be Mando again, like pretty much right when Last of Us ends. So he's having a great come up. The movie itself, though, the more I got into it, the more I kept going, oh, I don't remember it being like this. I remember it being much harder to follow and everything. And I almost questioned myself that this was a re-edit. like they took time and
Oh.
cut it again because of how much I didn't remember exactly the same. So that's why it's always fun to do these special screenings and rewatch some of these movies.
Yeah, I also loved the casting choice for Kristen Wiig as the villain.
Yeah, that
Like,
was a good
that
pick.
was an interesting, and she did a great job
Hmm.
in that, slow, descendance into her ego
Hmm.
and, wanting to be Wonder Woman, but, having it make her destroy her good parts, you know?
Hmm.
I like
Yeah, I mean
that.
she does that great. Like she does the opening character, so like the opening side of that character so well. It's kind of a typical for her to play that kind of role. But as you watch that descent, like you're saying, like she keeps pulling it off more and more and does a great job.
Mhm.
Cheetah is a great Wonder Woman villain. I wish there was like could have just been all her. I didn't need Pedro Pascal as much.
It's yeah, it's kind of the same character as Catwoman when you think about it.
Yeah,
that
there is that.
kind of nerdy secretary, kind of like, not really sure of herself, and all of a sudden
Hmm.
something happens to her and she becomes like this like um powerful, sexy, like villainess.
Hmm.
It's very much the Catwoman storyline too.
Yeah, I could definitely see what you're talking about with that. Um, we do have a couple other things in that movie to talk about. I think I took some notes on if I can find them. Um, how did you like Pedro Pascal in this role? I mean,
I think he's an incredible actor.
yeah,
I believe I first saw him at Game of Thrones. That was
yeah, he was
him.
Oberyn. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the first time I saw him, but yeah, he's a really, really good character, and I loved how in the end, he didn't, at the end he didn't die or he wasn't defeated. Like he's the one that pulled the plug ultimately for his son,
Hmm.
right? And I kind of like that through line for the movie is it's like the internal battle
Hmm.
between good and evil and how like we all have a choice in that.
Well,
Um
yeah,
yeah.
it's the whole concept of the monkey's paw, right? Where it's, you know, you get a wish,
Right.
but I'm going to take something from you, and then to just become the monkey's paw is such a. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Just
Yeah.
and as it deteriorates him as well, he's losing his health and all that, and just from it was quite interesting of a concept. Like I said, you don't see that very often,
Yeah.
so that was pretty good. Just trying to see, what did you think of? I believe this is one of the Chris's. This is Chris Pine in this, correct? I think
Yeah,
that's
this is
the
Chris
love
Pine.
interest in this. I'm assuming you've seen Wonder Woman 1, of course, long time ago.
Yeah, but I actually saw it second to this movie.
Really?
This was like, yeah, I just
Okay.
hadn't gotten into the Marvel Wonder Woman movies, so I watched this one first and then went back and watched the other one.
Hmm.
I like Chris Pine. He's got a good comic timing.
Hmm.
Um, he looked a little run down in this movie.
Yeah, a little
To
bit.
me,
I'll be
so much
honest.
going on.
Yeah, I could have probably done without him in this one since he does die at the first one, and I know it's kind of her wish, but it just felt so weird. He's in somebody else's body the whole time, like
Yeah,
that just kind of feels a little off. Um, but yeah, I mean, with Wonder Woman, still good DC flick. I mean, it was better than I remembered it being for sure, and it's a lot more more lighthearted than the original one is for sure, because that
yeah.
the other one set World War II and stuff and can get a little dark and depressing. Um, so for our podcast, we do our rating system for movies is dope, nope, and I. I being something that's yeah, it's okay. I will say I have to thank you for getting me to rewatch this movie because if you would have asked me before, I would have been like, nope, it's awful. Don't watch it again, that kind of thing. And it's definitely leaned me more towards an I vote. So
It's yeah, but
yeah.
you forced me to pick a movie, so I just
Hey, we got to have something for the special screening. This is how it works. Got to talk about something for a little
it's
bit.
an impossible question to ask, Frankie.
Hey,
Especially
it's like
someone
you
who works
said.
in entertainment. Like, what's your favorite movie?
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
I know. So it's just about finding like that thing. It's why I said, hey, pick something that you can just throw on. I think if I asked some of my family, like my mom would tell you, it's You've Got Mail. Like I've seen that movie myself
Oh,
about a
I
thousand
love that
times.
movie.
See, you could have picked that one too. We would have talked about that all day, no problem. But it is a difficult question. I can understand that for sure. But now we're going to get into the real difficult questions, the personal ones about you. So
Oh, yay.
we'll have
Okay,
some of
go
that
ahead.
good stuff.
I'm
So
ready.
we were checking out, and I've talked to you, of course, about some of your stuff. Um, but you were an actress before. What kind of made you want to start getting into acting and whatnot?
Um, I was in Missoula Children's Theater when I was 8 years old. So that was
Hmm.
like my first introduction into theater. And then I did the Lake Tahoe Shakespeare Festival when I was 16.
Okay.
And I was kind of a troubled teenager who just randomly went for this audition.
Hmm.
and I got to work with professional stage actors for an entire summer, and it just changed my life. By the end of it, I was like, "This is what I wanna do."
Hmm.
Um, I started directing plays in Carson City and Reno when I was 17, got, like, a bunch of awards, and I was like, "This is my life now." So I went to college for it and then ended up in Los Angeles, and
Nice.
yeah, up until
Yes.
the pandemic, that's what I was doing.
So really, like, you went from 16 years old from your first audition to like a year later having your own directing your own play. And
Yeah.
did you write that one as well, or is it a different one that you had written?
No, the first, play I directed was called Arsenic and Old Lace. It's
Hmm.
actually an old Cary Grant film, but it was
Okay.
also a stage play as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I did that play in Carson City as, like, my debut for directing.
Nice. And
Yeah,
then
it's
you've
good.
also written a play, correct?
Yeah, I've written a
Shutter.
couple of, yeah, so there's an amazing theater. If anybody's in Los Angeles and wants to see some crazy theater, check out Zombie Joe's Underground on Lankershim Boulevard.
Okay.
And that's where I got, started in theater in Los Angeles, and it's all horror. It's bloody,
Okay.
it's ghosts, that it's, like, crazy stuff on theater, it's
Hmm.
almost a little bit dangerous, and so
Okay.
I took this Grimm's fairy tale, Shudder, about a boy who can't experience fear and who goes through all these crazy things, and
Mm.
I converted it into a stage play and put it on there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Um, we're gonna have to get into the big thing here. You being a Zelda character, gonna have to talk about that a little bit.
For sure.
I'm really curious what it was like to even. I'm assuming you auditioned for this role, right? And, how was that process? What was that like?
When you're in it and you're auditioning, you don't really have time to keep track of what you're auditioning for, and they're not
Hmm.
gonna tell you. We didn't know
Okay.
that this was Zelda until we got the role. So, you show
Okay.
up at the place and they, will give you the sides, which is the
Hmm.
lines, and maybe give you 10 minutes with that to kind of you have like a short character description and then the lines, and then they just kind of put you in a room and direct you a little bit,
Hmm.
and that's it, and then you're done with that and you move on to the next audition of the day. So when I got a call that, like, "Oh, you got a call back for this, you got a call back for that," I was like, "Oh, cool, I wonder what this project is." I did not find out that it was Zelda
Hmm.
until they called me and told me I got the role.
Okay. So if you're saying that you're doing like a lot of auditions, would you say there's a big difference between doing a typical acting audition versus doing a voice acting audition, or was it just kind of the same thing? You just went in there with the same idea. This is what I'm going to do. Like, was it different prep work or anything like that?
Do you mean as, like, opposed to an on-camera audition or, stage?
Yeah, I just mean more of like the concept of going for like, you knew it was going to be for a video game, correct? Or
Yeah.
did you not even know that? Okay, so you knew it was for a video game. Did you like did it feel any different than going for like doing a movie audition, you know? Um
Yeah, it's completely different. You can go in your pajamas.
oh, okay. It's
You know what
just
I mean? It has nothing to do with your face or what you look like or anything, it's all
yeah.
about your sound.
Okay.
So, that can be better or worse depending,
Mhm.
uh, because on camera, you can rely on the little nuances of your face to act.
Mhm.
You can act with a look. You can
Mhm.
act with, an expression. In voiceover, you don't have that. So how do you give the nuance to your voice, to portray a certain feeling or an emotion, right? So that's the trick,
Yeah.
is the nuance in the voice, and to stick with whatever accent they're looking for,
Mhm.
um, and whatever character you're creating. So,
Mhm.
obviously, Mipha is a lot higher pitched than mine, she's much softer,
Mhm.
British accent, like, it's hard to sometimes match the emotion and keep consistency in the character as well.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I watched some of the cutscenes with your character, and then I was like, is that really Amelia?" No, and then like, so yeah, it's definitely quite a different voice, which kind of leads me into my next question of, with traditional acting roles, you kind of get to bring your own twist to a character, right? You work with a director and get to kind of add a little bit of your own, unless you're working with somebody who's super strict, like a Tarantino or something. But
Mm.
most people let you work with them. Is it different doing like a video game character? I'm assuming that's got to be a little bit more strict as well, since they know what they want. What was your experience like with that?
Mm, I felt like they took something that I did in my audition,
Hmm.
and then the director ran with that. So, in Breath of the Wild, I feel like I was under, how do I say this? I was much more constricted
Hmm.
with the direction. So it was, there was not much room for me to to do anything outside of what the director wanted.
Hmm.
In the following, in Age of Calamity, there was definitely a lot more leeway for me to throw my own spin on it. I do think that Mipha's a little, the voice is a little bit different if you listen in Age of Calamity because of that. Because you don't always agree with the direction that you're given, but this is what they want, so you need to produce. That's what you're hired
Hmm.
to do. So what I want definitely came second in Breath of the Wild. But in Age of Calamity, I was definitely allowed to like put my artistic spin on it a little more.
Okay. Yeah, they let you kind of, now it's become your character a little bit more, so they kind of let
Yeah.
you work with it a little bit. That makes a lot of sense. I'm assuming it was kind of fun to work for Nintendo in general. I mean, I grew up being a Nintendo 64 kid, so having
Yeah.
that idea was pretty cool. Um, let's see. So, have you played any of the games you've actually worked on? Like, did you go through?
I haven't, no.
No. Okay.
I've watched all the cutscenes like a
Hmm.
movie,
Yeah.
but I don't have a Switch or anything, so
Gotcha. So
I
you
don't
haven't
play
gone
video
through
games.
you haven't gone through Zelda just to see yourself in the game. Just watch the cutscenes. I get that. Be a
Mhm.
lot of hours to put in to catch yourself in a game, right? Um,
Yeah.
so out of all these different things, like you've worked plays, you've done the voice acting for video games, done some short films and some features, correct? Uh,
Mhm.
what do you think is your favorite like medium to work in? Like, which one do you
Mm.
prefer to do the most? Do you like being on stage? You want to be in film more? Like, which one?
Stage is a thrill. There's nothing like a live audience, nothing like it.
Hmm.
But voiceover is so freeing because it has nothing to do with what you look like. And especially in my early 20s, I was so typecast as the blonde-haired bimbo, and
Okay.
I knew I was better than that, and I had the
Yeah.
education, the training, that
Hmm.
was better than that, but I just couldn't get anything else. Well, some horror movies and stuff, but I had to really fight for that. Voiceover, I can be an 80-year-old woman and a 10-year-old boy in the same day. I can
Yeah.
play monsters, I can play, princesses, I could
Hmm.
play villains, you can do it all. So if I had my say, I definitely wanna go back to voiceover, and I think I will this year.
Okay.
Um, Probably go back to LA and figure that out,
Hmm.
or, start producing my own content as far as movies and more plays. I would love to direct more plays for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. I saw that you were working on a couple screenplays of your own, a Nurse Kelly, and I believe you said the working title is Thirst for your other one. Can you talk about that at all, or is that kind of an off limits thing at this point?
Where'd you get this information?
Hey, don't worry about it.
Um, Nurse Kelly was a role that I was writing for myself,
Hmm.
'cause they have that saying, like, if you can't find the role that you want, just create it.
Yeah, you're trying to
So
pull the
that was,
Stallone.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
Stallone and Rocky. Yeah,
yeah, Stallone and Rocky,
yeah.
exactly. So Nurse Kelly was gonna be a role that I was gonna write for myself as
Hmm.
a villain.
Okay.
So she's a serial killer. who used to be a nurse, and something snaps, and now she uses her medical knowledge to kill.
Got it.
So that was kind of the short premise for that one.
Mhm.
There's I
You
don't even remember the writing that one, but
no,
I have to look that up. Yeah.
you have to find it now. I'm pulling out weird
Yeah,
random ones for you.
that's a way old. I don't know where that
Yeah.
sounds
Uh,
familiar.
yeah. So sounds like you kind of enjoy horror movies, or at least working in like the horror realm for movies. Is that right?
I do. I really
Mm.
love horror plays, like at
Okay.
Zombie Joe's Underground.
Yeah.
It's so much fun
Yeah.
to scare the living whatever out of people. It's so fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's a new one for me. I don't think I've ever heard of a horror play before, like this conversation. So I'm definitely gonna
Lots
have to
of
look
blood
into that all the.
packets.
That makes, yeah, lots of fake blood everywhere and just buckets of it running around. I guess, having that. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool concept to do a horror play, I guess. Like you're trying to really scare the audience. Is it a lot of crowd work as well, like going into the audience? Not like
Mhm.
crowd work like comedy, like going back and forth, but like kind of getting into the crowd and freaking them out like that. Is that pretty common?
Yeah, I mean, when I did Shudder, it
Hmm.
was all about the visceral experience. So using the lighting and the sounds and placement of actors in the theater to create a visceral experience, something that they feel, that is
Hmm.
right in the room with them. So I love special effects that are live
Hmm.
in a performance setting. It's you don't get the same thing on through a screen, right?
Yeah.
So you can do a lot more with theater as far
Hmm.
as like integrating all of the feelings that a person can experience in a show.
I can understand that. Yeah, it's got to be a lot scarier if there's something happening right next to you than if it's just watching on
Yeah.
TV, right? Um, that's why scary movies are great only when you have a crowd of people in the room. If you're
Yeah.
watching one by yourself, it's not as scary. But when you got other people screaming and jumping at stuff, kind of adds to your level of enjoyment for those kind of movies. So for a play, that would make a lot of sense to help that
Yeah.
increase that as well. Um, let's see. I think. Oh, Amelia, you have your photography. Um, is it Gotham Studios? Which, by the way, you have one of the coolest last names. I love it. Would be all about it. Randy, can you pull up Amelia's photography stuff for us, please, so we can take a look?
Oh yeah, that's my stuff.
Is that
I
you right
started
here?
doing that's Tahoe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started doing photography for other actors when I was in Los Angeles, like headshots and
Mm-hmm.
fashion and stuff. In Tahoe, it's mostly more weddings, elopement, but I always just love fashion photography, and
Mm-hmm.
probably the same reason why I love special effects so much in plays. It's just I love visual arts
Okay.
and lighting, and there's something about uh, trying to figure out the right lighting and the right color and the right emotion
Mm-hmm.
and yes, I love shooting pets or, dogs, cats.
Yeah, I think you got Randy stuck in a loop on the pets one. He's gonna look at
Yeah,
that all
sorry.
day.
Took a little much time
little,
on that one.
little detour there. It's all right, man.
Yeah.
Good pictures for sure. I did have a question and I just lost it. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Um, uh, that'll come back to me in a second, I'm sure. Um, so yeah, with the photography, it's like you're saying it's a visual thing, and you're very into that. Oh, here it is. I remember. We did find a little bit of something about you saying that you originally wanted to be a stunt woman. Is that correct? Or are we just pulling
Yeah.
up false information here? Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite things I ever did was waragami. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
We watched
Um,
I've seen the trailer for it.
okay. Well, we spent
Yeah.
3 months, learning the fight choreography and training for that,
Mm-hmm.
and that was so much fun. I yeah, I would be a stunt woman now, even now in this late date of my career. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Um Yeah, maybe that's why I like Wonder Woman so much, is because that kind of pulls on my heartstrings. Like, I wanted to
Mhm.
do that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, you could always write the role for yourself, right? You could be the next Charlize Theron's going through her action phase, so you could
That
write
was a
something like
great
that.
movie, Atomic Blonde, right?
Yeah, Atomic Blonde.
That was
That was a lot of fun, and I mean, she's super badass in Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
was a good
she's
one.
great in that. So, yeah. Amelia, is there anything you'd like to plug on special screening here?
You can follow me on _Gotham Girl on Instagram. What else? Yeah, hopefully I have some cool projects coming up this year, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And I'm on Twitter as well, but I don't check that very often, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
for
that's it.
sure. All right. Well, hey, thank you for coming on, talking about Wonder Woman a little bit, talking to us about everything you've got going on. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks again. And customers, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys on the podcast or another week of special screening.
All right, thanks, Frankie.